I got gigabit internet the other day.
Oh, you do?
And it's still choppy, so I don't know, man. What's this about, like, fast internet and everything?
Welcome to GCP Live, episode number 67 for Friday, the 21st of June, 2024. GCP Live is sponsored by Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, what have Oracle and Google gone and done? What is Privileged Access Manager? We update you on a few security breaches. Plus, Apple finally weighs in on the AI game in the AI wars. But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the co-host of the show, Adish Panther. How are you, Adish?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Banky. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. You been up to anything during the fortnight?
Oh, I was really excited to hear about all the Apple intelligence stuff. And we'll talk about it a little bit later because I'm a big Apple boy. Got every single Apple device that I can think of. So I was very excited to hear all of that. So downloaded a bit of a beta on an old phone. Or not an old phone, but an old iPad. Didn't really work all that well because it's very, very new.
Yep.
But yeah.
And it's old hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll get your insights on it when we talk about the article. But outside of that, you been up to any tech adventures?
Yeah, like I'm trying to get a talk ready for a GGG in the future. Oh, yeah. So because I'm a big runner, I'm trying to see what I can do with my Strava data and using some LLM models to get some insights from my Strava data. So watch this space out in the next few weeks.
Yeah, right. So there's an API you can pull that data down?
Correct, yeah. So Strava has an API that you can use to pull down all your data from the Strava app, and then that's as far as I've gotten so far. But I need to do all the fun stuff of actually putting some LLM models through this data and see what I get from it.
Yeah, maybe like some coaching suggestions or like interval training suggestions, something like that.
Yeah, that's the intention.
Yep. You'd have to. Yeah, okay. Would you have a custom trained model for that, or you think a sort of general LLM could do that? I
think to start off with, I'm just going to try a general LLM. I don't know, some Palm model or whichever model. Just try a few models out, and then see what that gives me first. If it's completely ridiculous, then maybe I'll have to look into a more customized model.
Yeah,
but I just need to try out with a widely available model first.
Yeah, right. So we're going to end up with Adish's personalised training schedule.
Yeah.
Coach Adish. I love it.
What about yourself, Banky? What have you been up to?
Well, I finally bit the bullet during the fortnight and I signed up for Innovators Plus. This is personally. Now, of course, we're at consultancy, so we have direct access to Google and direct access to all the partner skills boosts and all the stuff that you get from Innovators Plus that you would get if you're an individual. But the one thing you don't get, of course, is Google Cloud credits. And if you sign up, you get that. You get $500 of Google Cloud credits. And I was already well into the whole, well past that with a few little projects I've got on a website and bits and pieces in my Google Cloud environment. So it made sense for me to sign up and just get those credits. And of course, you get a certification voucher as well, which I will use because I sit a number of certifications during the year. And if you pass that, you will then get another 500 credits. That's great, right? It's real good value.
Yeah, $3,000 to learn. So if I'm not in a consulting company, can I still sign up for this Innovators Plus account? Or do you have to get an invite for it?
No, absolutely. Anybody can sign up for Innovators Plus.
Wow.
Right. And, of course, the other thing you get is access to Cloud Skills Boost, right?
Fantastic.
And you can do everything on there. So, but it has caused me a bit of a problem as much as the fact that I now have 2 developer profiles and I now have 2 environments to go and complete cloud skills boost training.
Sounds like a pretty good problem to have.
I know it's got too much. But that aside, I was curious how the credits worked because I've got sort of 3 Google accounts in play here. I've got obviously my work one, the Mantle Group one. I've got my regular, I'm not going to announce the email address on air, but I've got sort of one Gmail account that I use it's just my regular day-to-day account that all the advertising and spam, and if I'm going to tell my mates my email address, that's my email address.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've got a third one, which is like my professional email address. So that's connected to my LinkedIn. It's got, all my professional contacts are on that email address. And at the time, I didn't have, and that's the one that's, linked to my certifications and, the Google side of things, right? My personal Google side of things. Now, at the time, I didn't have that set up as a billing account in my projects. I had the other Google account set up as the billing account. But I wanted to sign up to Innovators Plus using my professional Gmail account.
The one with the certifications.
The one with that's right, the one that's linked to the certifications. So I went ahead and did it anyway. So what happens is those credits get applied to the account that you used to sign up with. And you can go into the console and there's a credits tab in the flight menu. There's a credits tab there and you'll see the credits showing there.
And what can I use these credits for? Is it just for doing skills boost, or is it credits that I can use for my Google Cloud Playground?
Yeah, credits that can be used against Google Cloud infrastructure.
Oh, sweet.
Right?
Sign me up any day.
Yeah. So, I spent the $300 to get the Innovators Plus. And I currently have about $480 of credits against that account. And I'll get another $500 once I use that voucher code to get a certification.
Fantastic. Amazing.
So I was already in the hole, right? I was already spending about $60 a month on things. So I'm already there, right? Even just with the first lot of credits, right? So I was already spending $50 to $60. So then it was just simply a matter of just changing the billing account. So I just created my professional Gmail account made that a new billing account, and then on my other day-to-day Gmail account, I just removed that from being a billing account and actually decommissioned that as a billing account. As simple as that.
So what do you plan to do with those credits then, Banky?
Well, like I said, I've got a couple of websites running behind a load balancer. I've got my storage buckets, which back up my NAS here, and it pushes everything into an archive storage bucket. Yeah. So it's covering that. I'm going to spin up another website for something I've got in mind. And then some playing around. While we're on the subject, I've wanted to spin up a bare metals Kubernetes cluster for a little while. And I want to do GK Enterprise, just play around with it. So I've got a couple little boxes here, a couple little HP small form factor boxes. And that's going to be something else I do as well. So I'll have a little on-prem Kate's cluster that I can manage through one of the projects.
Yeah, very keen to hear how that progresses over the next few weeks then.
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, all I've done, because I had them all in the boxes from the move, all I've done at the moment is take them out of the boxes, put them in the rack and plug them in. That's as far as it's gone. So we'll see how it goes. They don't have disks in them, so I'm going to have to set up PXE boot on them and just get them to boot up into some Debian instance and go from there. But it should be a nice little project. And just before we get on with the show, I want to talk about a little clarification from last fortnight, and that's where I was discussing the power consumption in Finland. I think I did have some feedback, which is great. I really love the feedback from listeners. I did have some feedback on the 2023 consumption, and I did talk about nuclear jumping from 29.7 to 40% consumption in 2023. And that, I think I conflated the two conversations there where I was talking about overall power consumption, but I was specifically discussing nuclear power consumption there because I think the conversation went down the lines of talking about renewables. And that has come about because their imports dropped from 15.3%, obviously importing from Russia, and they're no longer doing that, and they're only importing 2.2% now. And consequently, and this is quite topical given that the whole nuclear power debate in Australia at the moment. So the nuclear consumption jumped to 41%, which, look, while we're on the subject, I personally believe that this has got to be the way. This is the only way we're going to get out of this power crunch. Governments across the world have just been too slow to react and have been unwilling, it seems, to go with new renewables. The only way we're going to deliver the power is by nuclear, unless for some magical reason we end up with fusion that just comes out of the woodwork. Nuclear fission is going to be the way. That's my personal opinion at the moment. All right, then, let's do it. Let's get on with the rest of the show, and let's kick things off with the community news.
Yeah, so community news, there's a GDG Sydney and Google I/O extended community event on Saturday, June 29th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a full-day event at the New South Wales Teachers Federation Conference Centre. Lots of exciting speakers lined up, lots of very high-profile Googlers lined up as well. So it will be an interesting event. So it's focused on a lot of new announcements that have been made in Google I/O right here in Sydney over the weekend.
Yeah, cool. And I just noticed, actually, if you go to the meetup page, it does say that RSVPs are closed, but they give you a separate link to go to register. And that'll be because there is a fee, $15 to $20 plus booking fee to go to that, where you can sign up. So don't be perturbed by the fact that it's sold out. It's not. You can get access to that on the 29th of June.
Great way to spend a Saturday, right?
Excellent. All right, I'll put the link in the show notes. Let's move on then with the news items. And first news item off the rank, this has been everywhere this fortnight. Oracle and Google Cloud announced a groundbreaking multi-cloud partnership. Groundbreaking. Basically, you can get Oracle database in Google. That's basically where this lands. And now, right at the moment, they're leveraging Cloud Cross Connect and connecting it via high-speed, high-latency directly into Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, OCI, and you can get access to it that way. But later in the year, a new offering called Oracle Database at Google Cloud will be available with the highest level Oracle Cloud database and network performance. I've got an article here from Yahoo Finance that I'm quoting, and it sounds to me like, well, in fact, it does say in the article that putting Oracle Cloud Infrastructure hardware in Google Cloud data centers, customers can benefit from the best possible database and network performance. So Oracle are actually going to put hardware and databases in Google Cloud data centers. Sounds cool to me.
Sounds fantastic to me as well. And some of the benefits of this integration, shall I say, and I quote the article, is around flexible options to simplify and accelerate migrating the Oracle databases to Google Cloud, simplified purchasing and contracting experience, a unified customer experience and support from Google Cloud, the simplicity and security and latency of a unified operating environment, and connecting the Oracle data with Google's industry-leading AI services.
Yeah, that just sounds awesome. That point number 3 there, unified customer experience and support from Google Cloud and Oracle. That there, I think, is something that Google's doing really well. Look at VMware Engine, for instance, GCVE. I mean, this offering is really no different to anything like that, right? Where they've partnered with an industry leader, VMware or NetApp, for instance, and then they offer their services via their console and they make it googly, and then the customer support is unified. It's a one-stop shop. You go to Google Cloud. I mean, that really simplifies things from an operations point of view, right? You just register with Google Cloud, and they look after it. Right, they're the experts in it. You don't need to have people. Well, you might have a few people that know a little bit about it, or you're going to have DBAs still, I guess, but nowhere near what's been required in the past.
100%. And adding to that, point number five is even bigger in the current context, right? Where are all the data in the current databases? What's Google good at? Getting all the AI models ready, right?
Yeah,
so from a customer perspective, I've got the best of both worlds. I've got my data in Oracle Cloud, in an Oracle database, and now I can just have seamless connection to all the Google AI services.
Not only that, then, I mean, think of the integrations. They're going to integrate things, right? BigQuery, right? 100%. It's going to have to be integrated with that eventually further down the track. Right, the whole Snowflake thing, right, and the data lake side of things. Google's going to be the one-stop shop for data now. It has to be.
Yep, 100%. And this we don't necessarily know the date or timelines for this, do we? In terms of having Oracle Cloud as a first-class citizen in Google Cloud, just yet. Oracle database, sorry.
Well, we know. I think. Did I read it in this article or was it another article? By the end of the year, I mean, air quotes, by the end of the year.
Okay, so we've got another 6 months.
Yeah, in restricted regions, right, by the end of the year.
Yeah. So Australia,
but
New Zealand.
As of right now, customers today will be able to begin onboarding in 11 cross-cloud interconnect regions.
Yeah.
Right, that includes Australia East as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, this is very exciting, and this is just the first step. Where this is going to lead, it really opens the door to a lot of possibilities.
And interestingly, it was a pretty big week for Oracle because they also signed another deal with OpenAI and Azure Cloud as well. Probably not going to go into the details of that, but yeah, very big week for them.
They did. I didn't quite grok what this deal actually meant. Microsoft and OpenAI announced a partnership that extends Microsoft Azure AI to Oracle Cloud to give OpenAI more capacity. So this is an article on Information Week, and I'll go further down and quote what they say. It says, "It seems like the need for capacity that OpenAI either has today or is predicting may or may not, I mean, there's so many options here, may or may not be met by Microsoft infrastructure, which means they're leaning on OCI to do that." So they're after OCI to fill the gaps.
Yeah, that's literally it. They're using OCI to have to store more data because they can't handle their own data right now.
And they couldn't go to Google.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. You can't go to Google. Microsoft can't go to Google for that. So really, and I mean, they sure as heck aren't going to go to AWS. So no, you're absolutely right. OCI is the only place they can go. If they're going to use Oracle database, they certainly have the technology to do it. That's for sure.
Yep. So big week for them, I'd say.
Yeah, this is interesting because we rarely talk about Oracle Cloud on this show, and suddenly this has thrusted them into the limelight. It's an interesting position that they've put themselves in now because they're not really a leader in cloud, but there's going to be a strong dependency on them now.
Yeah, because they're a leader in database services for sure. So when they've got that seamless integration with both the cloud providers out of 3 top cloud providers, that's very, very serious move in the market.
They've sort of created this new tier, haven't they? They've sort of injected themselves into this new tier that kind of didn't exist before, and creates this extra level of dependency that, might work out. The markets apparently didn't like it. Their shares did shrink a little bit after the announcement. So, I'm still excited about it nonetheless. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. In the last year, the shares have gone up 22%, which is not a bad return, but from a tech company perspective, probably not the best. But let's see what this does, I guess, to the share prices.
Yeah, that's right. All right, moving on. Quick look at a new Google Cloud feature, and this is Privileged Access Manager. And I think it's a pretty cool idea, pretty easy to understand, and probably something that was a little bit overdue. What this Privileged Access Manager allows you to do, obviously it helps you with your principle of least privilege philosophy, but it gives you just-in-time, time-bound and approval-based access elevations.
This is something we face all the time, at least for me when I'm on a client, right? How do you provide someone break glass access to an environment? Now we've got a solution from Google. I've had to spend hours and hours, if not weeks and weeks, to get a solution working for a break glass access to an environment. And now we've got a solution where it just you can just do it from a console where you can provide a particular access for a set period of time to a set user group. I mean, that's just incredible.
Yeah. So I'll link the Google blog article in the show notes, but it does go into how it works here. It says PAM allows your IAM administrators to create entitlements, eligible licenses that can grant just-in-time temporary access to any resource scope. So you've got a couple of screenshots here, and just looking at that, you can go into each principal and you can create an entitlement for that principal. And the example that they show here is that they set a maximum duration for the grant, 2 hours, for instance, and then at the end of that period of time, that entitlement expires. Pretty cool.
Very cool, because getting that working in a big organization without a first-party tool like PAM in Google Cloud is a lot more involved process.
How would you do it? Would you create some command line tool, or would you spin something up?
Or you would just have a manual process, like, I don't know, a ServiceNow ticket that says this needs to be revoked after a day. There's no great solution.
Horrible.
Yeah.
And it's just relying on someone to go back and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this solves that. That's great. Anyway, I'm keen to get in there and have a little tinker with that. It sounds like you're going to have an immediate need for it, Adish.
Yeah, and with your credits, you can actually try it out in your environments.
Ooh, goody.
In all seriousness, though, we can probably just try it out in our Mantle sandboxes,
exactly.
Which is a great thing for us.
It wouldn't cost much. Now, speaking of authentication, Gitlab has announced a public beta of an expanded integrations with Google Cloud designed to enhance developer efficiency, speed, and productivity. We love all of that. What this does, it streamlines the Google Identity Access Management and Workload Identity Federation with GitLab. I'm assuming when I read this that this basically does away with the need for tokens and all that messiness when you're trying to get a runner to authenticate to your Google Cloud project. Is that right?
GitLab is, until their last deal with Google, they've always been like an afterthought. At least for GitLab, Google Cloud has been an afterthought. So there's always been this really annoying, you have to do a repo mirror to cloud source repositories to get a CI/CD pipeline working.
Oh, yeah, that's annoying, yeah.
Do you remember those days?
GitHub was an option, but never GitLab.
Yeah. And that got away recently because there was an agreement from Google Cloud. There was a partnership rather between Google Cloud and GitLab to make that better. And I think this is just an extension to that. So they know three key benefits from this improvement. One, like you said, is streamlined authentication. So similar to what GitHub integrates with Google Cloud, you can do the same thing now between GitLab runners and Google Cloud, which then will facilitate faster application deployment to Google Cloud, because you're not worrying really about all this plumbing that needs to happen between Google Cloud and cloud source repositories and GitLab. So that goes away. And in turn, that just gives me as a developer a great experience.
Now, when I went to look into this, I'm thinking, oh, great, I should move all my GitHubs over to GitLab. Right? A couple of years ago, everyone did that. I didn't realize that with GitLab, if you're a private user on the free GitLab account, you get a number of hours using GitLab runners for free included.
Oh, really? I did not know that as well. And how many hours do you get as free in GitLab?
So if I go to GitLab pricing, you get, for the free tier, you get 5 gig of storage, which is more than enough for like a handful of repos, right? 10 gig of transfers per month, 10 gig, right, for a few small text files. Now, here's the kicker, 400 compute minutes per month. 400, right? Now, for me here, I've got my Proxmox environment fully terraformed, and the workloads are built with Ansible, fully Ansibled. My runner currently is running in Proxmox, right? So which means if I ever in a situation where I need to rebuild the thing, there's a bunch of manual stuff I've got to get going first. I kind of don't want that. What I'd like is my runner outside of the environment so it can just go in and just build everything up again. This would be ideal. I can use the GitLab 400 compute minutes per month because I'm not going to use more than that. And it can just go in. I don't have to have my runner on-prem.
Yeah, those are really generous numbers, actually. 400 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
10 gigs of data transfer and 5 GB of storage. When you think from a pipeline perspective, yeah, 400 minutes, maybe you can run out of that. But the storage and data transfer, that is heaps for just personal projects.
Just personal projects, absolutely.
The only time I can think of you running out of your compute minutes or runner minutes rather is when you've misconfigured your runner and it's in a kind of endless loop or something.
Yeah. Or even if I just keep making problems with my Ansible and I just have to keep hitting it over and over and over and over again, it's 30 seconds a run. I'm not gonna hit it 800 times. I might hit it 5 or 6 times, and change it once a month. But very, very generous numbers there. And 5 users. So, I mean, 5 users, that's enough to...
You can build a startup with those numbers.
You can build a startup. You can get an open source project off the ground with those numbers. Absolutely. And then when you do want to go to the premium, which is the next jump up, it's $29 a month. And there's a whole bunch more you get,
and that's $29 per user a month, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So
that's right, correct. Yeah. So the point being that this integrates now nicely with Google Cloud, streamlined. You get the automates with the GitLab runner, and significant results in a significant developer experience, as you said there, Adish.
And more options for developers, right? GitLab is as good as GitHub now for CI/CD and GitOps operations.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, moving on. A couple of little ones that are, well, this one's on a bit of a tangent, but Meta must face Australian billionaires' US lawsuit. Now, I like Twiggy. Everyone likes Twiggy, right?
Of course.
he's the second richest man in Australia. He's kind of a good guy.
He's one of the good rich guys.
One of the good rich guys.
At least that's the public perception.
So, anyway. Yeah, exactly. He's taking Meta to court over fake crypto scams that have been on Facebook. Meta's negligence in allowing the ads breached its duty to operate in a commercially reasonable manner. Dr. Forrest claims that Meta profited more from ads that included his likeness than it would have if the ads had not. So this is his case he's taken, which is a bit different to cases in the past. Usually, social media companies in the US can invoke what they call Section 230 in the immunity in the US civil case, which basically says that the carrier is immunized from liability as a publisher of third-party content. That's the law in the US. But what Twiggy is saying in this case is that you made extra profit that, and this is enough of an adequately plea that the alleged misappropriation was to Meta's advantage, and that's the case. Now, Meta went to have it kicked out, but the judge has said, nope, it can go ahead. The case can go to court. So interesting.
Yeah.
See where it goes.
But is he going on a criminal charge in the US as well, or is it more a civil case then? Still trying to grasp what that... it's not that clear in the article.
Not that clear in this article. Maybe we'll keep a track on this one and follow it up. Whether it's going to actually lead anywhere or not, I mean, we're going to talk about an article later. We've got the Australian government going after X. Has anything happened there?
It's billionaires fighting billionaires at this point.
Billionaires fighting, governments fighting, billionaires fighting. That's right. And yeah, is anything going to happen? Probably not. All right. And while we're on the updates and follow-ups tip, we've got a couple of updates here. Quickies from Medibank and Optus. Medibank allegedly missed their EDR alerts before the data breach. So if you're not that clued up, if you're not aware, EDR is a security vernacular for endpoint detection and response. So Medibank have an EDR tool, and it had been triggered up to 6 weeks prior to the data breach, and they had not acted on it.
Yeah, so this just lists out all the things to avoid that can be avoided that Medibank haven't done, right? This just adds to that list.
Absolutely.
From not having two-factor authentication to not following up on alerts to not having protected VPNs, like the level of negligence, it just gets worse and worse for them,
isn't it? Yeah. So let's break it down. The OAIC has filed a lawsuit against Medibank earlier this month, and now some details have started to come out around it. So the OAIC has alleged that a contractor saved credentials, including an admin account, to their personal internet browser profile on a work computer. Right, their personal profile on a work computer. Now, as we know, if you've got sync set up in Chrome, that'll go across to your personal, wherever you've got Chrome installed. And just so happened on this person's personal device, there was some malware that collected those credentials. The OAIC alleges the attacker first tried the credentials on Microsoft Exchange server because they would have had a OWA server available, and it didn't work. And then they figured out that it was Medibank's VPN. Now, this is where we get into the multi-factor. So Medibank did not have multi-factor on their VPN, and it just required a login. And bang, once they had that, they were in to the environment. Now, to compound matters worse, once they were into the environment, they were then able to get access to the Exchange servers, and they were able to use an exploit called proxy not shell. And this at the time was a 0-day. Now I went away and said, "Wow, what is this proxy not shell business?" Turns out, proxy not shell is an exploit that uses a chain of several vulnerabilities. So at the time, one of those CVEs was considered high, and two of them were not so important. But you put the three together, and you get this proxy not shell vulnerability. Now, I'm not going to go through exactly what that is. I'll link this another blog talking about proxy not shell. But basically, using this, you can execute PowerShell scripts with escalated privileges. In other words, you'll get admin to the domain. So you can read anything at the end of the day. So that's exactly what they did. Now, what's triggered the EDR was a bunch of files sitting on a file system somewhere that were needed for proxy not shell, to execute proxy not shell. Now, at the time, the 7th of August 2022, this was considered a 0-day. Microsoft had since come out and provided patches for each of these CVEs, but that wasn't until later in 2022, September and November 2022, when those patches were made available. So we're talking a window of 30 days that this server was sitting there with this vulnerability, and with the correct credentials, the infiltrator was able to get in there and bang, you're pwned.
Yeah, this just sounds like a situation where it was just bound for disaster with just one bad thing after another, right?
Yeah, that's often what you see, right? You'll see it's not because of one problem. There'll be multiple failures that lead to something like this. And, these CVEs, they weren't Medibank's problem. I mean, at the time, everyone had these problems, right?
Yeah.
But the fact that you had the contractor using a personal profile which synced across to another machine which had malware, that surprises me as well. What had this individual been doing on their personal machine to allow malware to run on there? Like, I mean, even Windows Defender's enough, right, these days, just to stop that sort of thing. So you got that failure, and then you got the failure of MFA, or the lack of MFA on their the VPN login.
And then there was organizational failure where Medibank didn't respond to any of the alerts as well for a long time.
To the EDR. Like, come on, guys. This is why you spend all this time and effort putting it in, and you've got an alert there telling you there's a potential 0-day being enacted on your environment, and you do nothing? Come on, guys.
Yeah. If there was ever an article about what not to do to prevent your systems, what Medibank did would be exactly things not to do.
Yeah, there's learnings here all the way through.
Very, very fundamental stuff that have been missed.
So, yeah, they were in there for 6 weeks and harvested 520 gigabytes of data.
6 weeks.
Yeah.
That is a painful number.
Yeah, it's a long time. So that's that little nugget. I'll link both those articles in the show notes, but do have a look at that proxy not shell one, the blog, on how that exactly works and what's involved in getting that going. Look, it's all been patched out now, so it's not an issue. But I mean, these guys know what they're doing if they're using that as a 0-day. And a quick follow-up, this is a quickie. Optus reins in speculation of data breach penalty size. We talked about this one on the show a few fortnights ago. The ACMA alleges 3.6 million breaches, and if you do the sums on that and the penalty per breach, it was something like $2 trillion or some ridiculous fee that they'd have to pay. Optus is saying, no, that's not the case. There's only about 10,000 customers that were affected, and the ultimate penalty will come down to what the federal court decides. The court can decide anything ultimately. And they might roll up some of those fees into one. They might slap them on the wrist for some, but I think it was big drama when everyone did the maths on that, and some media outlets, including ourselves, got excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can see why they're disputing it, right? They wouldn't exist if that ever went through.
If that went through, it'd be the end of him, absolutely. All right, should we do it? Should we get on with the AI wars?
Yes, indeed.
All right, this week, where do we begin with all this? What have we got? We've got Apple, we've got Elon Musk, we've got ChatGPT, and we've got Google Cloud. I mean, it's all sort of rolled up in one ball this week, isn't it?
The Big Four.
The Big Four. And, mate, I'll let you take this one, but Apple finally unveils iPhone AI features powered by ChatGPT.
Yeah, so Apple, about a fortnight ago, had a week-long WWDC conference. So this is their annual developers conference. Apple generally has two big conferences a year. One's for releasing iPhones, which happens in September or October, and then one is for doing all the cool software updates, right? So the June event is generally, say, for all the cool new stuff that comes in software. So one of the biggest releases of this WWDC conference was AI, or AKA Apple Intelligence. Apple's come up with their own term for AI.
That's pretty cheeky calling it that, right? Pretty cheeky.
Yeah. But that's so Apple-like, right? Apple comes up with a unique name for everything that they do. So this is no surprise as a avid Apple lover, where it's Apple Intelligence, not artificial intelligence, that's on their phones.
I'm surprised they didn't put the I first, to be honest with you.
Yeah, 100%. I was more surprised there was just so openly calling it AI and Apple Intelligence. Yeah. Kudos to their marketing team, actually. Now, the interesting thing about how they're doing the AI or Apple Intelligence is majority of the generative models, so the models to generate emails, messages, images, majority of it will actually run on device. Only caveat to that is not a lot of the devices that Apple have released support that.
Right. Are they doing it in silicon, or have they got I think I read somewhere they've got a smaller, lightweight LLM that they're doing it with?
So they've developed a separate LLM model itself, and they're releasing that in their products. But Apple's been doing ML and AI for years, right? To a certain extent, and all their silicon chips have that capability. It's just the generative AI part of AI has been enabled through software now.
Right.
And they'll be rolled out to phones and iPads and MacBooks. And like I was saying, the only caveat is not a lot of the devices currently support that. So case in point, if you bought an iPhone, a brand new iPhone, if you were to go to a store and get an iPhone 15, which is one of Apple's newest phones, it's not supported in that.
Right, but this is typically Apple, right?
But if you have an iPhone 15 Pro, it's supported in that.
It'll be there. There you go. Yeah.
So exactly, it's typical Apple, where I refuse to believe that all the generative AI features are not supported, cannot be supported in a brand new iPhone 15, but can be supported in iPhone 15 Pro. I can understand some of the features might not be supported, but they're getting to a stage where they're essentially software locking everything. In addition to that,
just to get you to buy a new phone, Adish. That's what that's all about. Yeah.
In addition to that, they've also established a partnership with OpenAI. So any models that they can't run on their phones, they will be running on ChatGPT. How cool is that? Now, ChatGPT is being openly integrated with Apple devices.
Yeah, so ChatGPT, and so that'll allow you to allow it to respond to messages in iMessage.
Another thing I found very interesting was I feel Google has one of the best advantages in terms of they've got their own phone, they've got their own Android system, and they've got their own generative AI models. So they have a seamless integration for all of this, whereas Apple and OpenAI almost have to partner with each other because none of them actually have. For OpenAI doesn't have a hardware that can support that, and Apple doesn't have a generative AI model that can be easily run on Apple devices.
You're right. So, Google's got is the only one that's got the top-down stack. Like
correct.
Top to bottom. Yeah.
So that's why OpenAI and Apple, they both needed this integration.
Yeah. Yeah. So where we land is we have ChatGPT integrated into your phone for like iMessage and things like that, and probably calendar and stuff. But we also have one of the other articles we're covering here in AI Wars is Apple has 2 new homegrown AI models, including a 3 billion parameter model for on-device AI and a larger LLM for servers with resources to answer more queries. And those models were developed with TensorFlow and trained on Google TPUs.
Yeah. And it's very interesting that in that article, no one from Google or Apple were willing to comment or commit on that.
You know, Apple's just gone along to Google Cloud. They've spun up a project, right? And they've just trained a model. Like this is what everyone's doing, right? It doesn't matter if it's Apple or Microsoft have probably gone and trained a model in Google Cloud because that's the way you do it, right? I don't find that crazy, but and the fact that they're using ChatGPT in their phone. Well, we've looked at numbers before on that, and right now 4.0 is better than Gemini, so that kind of doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, and I don't think Apple was ever going to go to Gemini as a model because from a Google perspective, they have a competitive advantage over iPhones when they have Gemini seamlessly integrated on their Google Pixels or whatever.
You're absolutely right because the Pixels have got Gemini, so the iPhones have to have ChatGPT, right? It's the only way it could be. It's the only way.
There was no other way.
But Elon Musk has got a bit to say about this. Good old friend of the show, Melon Husk. I made the mistake earlier of going through Elon Musk's Twitter feed or X feed. Yeah. He's got 46,000 tweets he's made over the years. Right. Don't do it. You'll be less intelligent after you do that. Don't do it. But he's tweeted, anyone that brings an Apple device into our offices that has ChatGPT on it, we're going to lock it up and we're going to put it in a Faraday cage. You're not allowed. It's banned. They're all banned.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you got to take this comment with the context that Elon Musk and OpenAI have had a long storied history of disputes as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. They've had stashes. Yeah.
That's the only explanation there. I mean, I can probably see his concerns, but I wouldn't lock my iPhone in a container to go to a Twitter office or an X office.
And of course, the irony of it is that Musk has spun up his own AI company. I believe it's called XAI, which doesn't surprise me. And what's he going to do next? Create a phone and put the AI on the phone?
Well, this is a bit of a tangent, but I was actually reading where Musk is actually planning to not necessarily focus on electric cars now, but robots was his next big pet project.
Mm-hmm,
like human-like robots that can do what humans can do. So he's in the same game.
They're
that comments as inflammatory.
Yeah, perhaps he should have done that before he created the Mega Factory because, you know, he had all sorts of problems with his robots in the early days.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough talk about Musk. You don't get any smarter by talking about Musk. That's one thing I've discovered.
Crazy billionaires.
All right, look, I think that's about it for this fortnight. Anything else from you, Adish?
No, nothing else from my side. It was a pleasure talking to you today, Banky.
Always fun, always fun. Look, don't forget you can go to iTunes, write a review for the show to really help the show out. You can find us on Spotify and that YouTube's. Go over there and smash that like button and start the conversation on YouTube. You can contact the show, GCP Life, at mantlegroup.com.au. And don't forget today's sponsor is Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud's solutions possible. That's about it from me. I think I've already asked the question. Anything else from you, Adish?
Nothing else, Banky. All good.
All right, mate, and we'll catch you all later. Bye.
See ya. It was all running smoothly, so I don't know, man.
Nah, my experience of those Wi-Fi mesh things is they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. Unless even if you hardwire them and you like dot them around, that's better, but it's still, I still had so many problems with that Netcom mesh thing.
So I paid a lot of money for nothing then, is what you're telling me.
Basically, yeah.